Call this meeting to order at 6:33. Approval of the agenda that may be amended. I think we've already gone through and made amendments. Do you see anything, Chris?
Yeah, this is liquor control out of the way right away.
Okay, so, all right, okay. So I got approval of the minutes, January 9th at 1 PM. I don't see anything there. This is our meeting that basically is our Monday 1 o'clock meeting with the developer. So, then I also have that same Monday at 2:45, that was 15 minutes that started at, and then we went into executive session with the developer, with the engineers. Then I've got January 15th, 2024, which was a regular select board meeting. I didn't see anything there. Steve Finneran was involved in that one also. Then Monday, January 22nd at 1 PM. Once again, it's our 1 PM meeting with the developer. Then January 22nd at 3 o'clock that afternoon, which we then go in with our engineers, not the developer. And then Tuesday, January 22nd was a regular meeting because the 21st was a holiday or whatever. So I'm gonna make a motion to approve all of those minutes.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, select board member feedback and concerns. Do you have anything, Chris?
I have nothing at this time.
I do not either. So I'm gonna open it to public comment. First, I'm gonna look into the audience that's actually, that's here. Are you here for something that's already on the agenda, JT and Deb? Okay, you have no other comments or anything? Jim and Jan? No. And then, I'm sorry, you are with the V-Trans group?
V-Trans.
Okay. Now I'm gonna go to the Zoom meeting, Zoom people. Anybody here have anything that's not on the agenda that they would like to speak about? So, Patrick, Jerry, Laura Stone, you're with
I'm here.
okay, you're good. Robert Montgomery, Whit, and then Will Spanos. Do you have anything? Not hearing anything, I'm gonna move on to the Board of Liquor Control, and that's for you, Lucretia.
Okay, so we have quite a few. So these are all renewals, and we'll start with the Bull Rush Corporation, doing business as the Phillips.
So Lucretia,
Yeah,
just realizing that since Steve Finneran was not able to make tonight's meeting, Chris has to abstain, so we can't do any of the Board of Liquor Control, because I can't approve by myself.
I didn't realize Steve was not there, so.
Yeah,
Okay.
we just got a message about an hour and a half ago that he was running late in New Hampshire still, so he's not in. All right, so that was
Okay.
quick,
Yep, there you go.
all right.
Trying to get you out of the way.
So
quick.
Steve will be around tomorrow, so Steve and I can come in and maybe go through.
Yes, because there's one
Yeah.
that needs
Yeah.
approval.
Yeah, I'll talk to Steve in the morning, and then we'll
Okay,
come back
Yep.
together on that, the two of us, all right?
great.
So, we have, Andrew, we started off and we're already up to number 7, but we did have, open to public comment. Do you have anything you would like to say?
Yeah, sure. I wanted to ask Andrew Gedda, Killington. I would like to ask Michael Ramsey about the personal property tax. Remember, a couple months ago, I've touched base with the listers and Michael. I found out that there are 80 people who are paying personal property tax here in Killington, and 25 plus businesses, I found out, are not. So we talked about, so we're not collecting between $20,000 and possibly $25,000 a year from those other businesses. So, as the lister said, they cannot enforce it. So people don't pay, but we're not getting those money. So I'm just like to ask Michael if anything changed. Did you guys talk to the town lawyer? Basically, I'd like to know the status.
Yeah, I had to clear up some tax bills with the attorney 2 weeks ago, and we wanted to get that behind us, and I still plan on sending him some questions about that Pat spoke to me about after your meeting with her, on how collecting property tax could be more effective and more efficient.
So I have a question for you as a town manager on that question. It was always underneath my belief that, can you let somebody in from the,
Yes.
okay, that if I have an issue with my taxes, okay, property tax, personal property tax or whatever, that it's not the select board, it's not the town manager, that the listers are the ones that do the billing, okay? And the listers are elected officials. They do not report to you. You are not there to hire or fire them.
That's correct.
And if someone has an issue with their personal property tax or their tax bill, they should be going to a hearing, a BCA hearing, Lucretia. You know, if you feel you're being charged wrongly, you should be going to the listers and asking in May or April, whatever, for a hearing. You go in, you grieve, and then you take it from there. As far as going to them and asking them if they're billing correctly, that's really not your thing. I mean, it's a weird government, Andrew. I don't know if Andrew's willing.
Just an example. Killington Resort pays the most. I thought always, Chris, you were the second one with your properties. Actually, number 2 is Lookout. You're number 3. Moser's number 4. I'm number 5. At $2,100, $2,200 a year. But there are a few businesses that we all know who should be paying at least $5,000-7,000, and they're not.
But we
And I
don't.
want to bring.
Well, but we don't know, so you're here, and this is, so unless we're told who they are, we can't really go to, the listers or elected officials.
Michael knows the names, listers knows the names, because I made the list of 25 people, and we had a good conversation. Basically, they said, yes, we know, we tried. For example, Pat Lindemeyer, she said, I do send them the letters every year, but they're not doing anything about it. So that's why I'm bringing the subject, because
So what are they?
I'm paying, Chris is paying, but then there are other businesses that are not paying, and I feel like, why am I paying?
Yeah, but we,
Why
so,
don't they bill them?
why don't they bill them?
Their excuse is, oh, we're in Mendon, for example, or in Plymouth. I have a shop in Plymouth, so technically, if they have a sign hanging on the Killington Road that says business name, they feel like they don't have to do it. But everybody wants to advertise that they're in Killington, but they don't want to pay a dime here.
Okay.
You know?
So I know you've come to the town, and it's really not the select board.
Yeah.
And I know
And
you.
Michael did explain it,
And I've heard that you have an issue with the personal property tax. But at the same time, what I've been told, and I'm gonna put words that you have told me and make sure that this is right, and then what the listers have told me. So like in stone construction or whatever it is, every year you get a form from the listers, okay? And you're supposed to put in that form what personal property you have.
Yeah.
And you get a tax bill. And if you don't fill out the form, which I'm told you don't fill out the form, okay? You don't fill it out, you just not send anything to them. And they give you a bill based on what they believe.
Yeah.
And it's about $1,200 a year, is what
Yeah,
I'm
I
told.
started at 300, and I was steadily going back. When my accountant filled it up, actually it cost me $900 for my accountant to sit down and fill up that paper. And then I went to $1,200, 1,300, so I figured, what's the point of me paying my accountant? It's cheaper for them, rate me at the highest rate. So I'm at 2,100 right now, because I still think it's cheaper. But point is, just throw a name. For example, Rock Landscaping. Because I asked, who qualifies for paying the property tax here? Because all this money stay here. Tom's equipment's been in High Ridge for 20 years since I've been here. Plows, sanders, loaders. He's renting a place next from Steve Durkee, the old firehouse. All his man lifts are Green Mountain. So Chris and we pay the most, and Tom Rock, technically, he should be paying $7,000 based on the equipment he has in Killington, but he's not. So we, as the community, we did not collect almost over $100,000 just from one business. And that's why I brought it to Michael's attention, to the lister's attention. $100,000 would have been spent better, in my opinion, if we collected towards the new pool for our kids.
Okay.
Am I correct or not? I mean, this is just one example.
Yeah, but so I once again, we are not the listers, okay?
And the lister said they cannot enforce it.
Okay, well, no, they didn't say they don't enforce it. I think the listers had told you that Rock Landscaping, because you've used them as an example, is not in the town of Killington, registered in the town of Killington, but your business is.
Okay.
And Rock Landscaping, by the way, no, can I finish?
Sure.
By the way, Rock Landscaping is not in the old firehouse anymore. They've been out of there for over 2 months, okay? Because as the zoning administrator, I went there and said, I don't see, and that would be a change of use. But I understand what you're saying, like, we'll go back to the listers, but I thought one of the ideas you had was great. You had said, let's audit companies for their
And that's
personal
that's where
property.
I brought the subject up, because let's do it.
Right.
But on that list, and I think, Jim, you're missing something. There is Comcast they pay a small fee because they have equipment here. I bet equipment that's rented, for example, the tower that Chris has, they still are on that list because they pay. Green Mountain Power still pays a couple $100. And ask Michael. There are other people who have equipment here because it's personal property, but it's equipment that's being in Killington. iBuy Pizzeria, for example, they have a printer, they have a modem, they have a TV hanging on the wall. They're paying $100 to $150 because they have equipment.
But they also own, because I understand personal property tax, because I used to pay it, okay? And you get a bill because you have a piece of land here that's in your name, okay?
iBuy doesn't own the building.
They don't, but their equipment is there as fixed equipment operating.
Into the.
A vehicle is not fixed equipment, so it moves around. Now, you could argue that it's here all the time, but I don't know the tax code, but I would say to you that if it's got wheels, it's moving around, that's not fixed in this town.
But I want to go back to the idea that you had about auditing, okay? The people that should be paying personal property taxes. And then I want to go back to $1,200 is like saying you have $20,000 worth of equipment, okay? But I drive past Route 4 and I see a brand-new or 2-year-old Freightliner. That's how much money, Andrew?
Yeah, a lot.
$700,000?
But it's also on the wheels. So
No,
you're
no,
saying
no,
you're
no,
not
no,
collecting the money from the wheels,
Yeah,
but
but-
it has
but-
wheels. Trailer has wheels. My loader has wheels. I'm like,
But your business is
But it
anchored.
is here. But what I'm
You
getting
have
at is that I
Killington
think,
Press. He doesn't have it.
I think you have a great idea, and I think you should give your books over to the listers, and they'll audit your books first, and then you're probably gonna find out that you have over $1 million worth of personal property tax, and you should be paying $6,000 to $8,000 a year in personal property tax instead of $1,200. So you're concerned about other people, and I think we should
no,
start.
even with Mosier. I mean, Mosier is huge. I'm a little guy like this comparing to Mosier, and Mosier is $3,100. It's so like I'm just comparing apples to apples.
But you're
Mark Fiore, my other competition. It's that's the reason why I did this, because I figured out that we're missing $20,000-$30,000 a year from other businesses who can
But I'm
actually
telling
chip in and
you
pay.
that you brought something up to my attention, and I want to look into it, and I think it's great that we first audit in Stone's equipment and get that correct on the books and do what Andrew's saying,
And that's why Bob-
use him as an example first, and then we could look at other people. But at the same time, I think you're gonna find out that your property taxes, okay, your personal property taxes are gonna go from that $1,200 to somewhere around
No,
$12,000 to
because we all have a
$15,000.
choice. Bob Peterson specifically never paid a dime. A friend of mine, he's like, Andrew, I sold the house, I moved to Mendon, I'm in Mendon. I don't have to pay that, because I don't have any equipment here. But other business, everybody in this town, they want to advertise, I'm Killington address. And that's what gives them the business, and they keep their equipment here, but they don't want to pay. So I feel like I'm being cheated.
So I think we do
But-
need
but-
to look, we
but-
should look into
yeah,
the
we should
law
look into
and
it.
understand it, because I would not be one to quote the law, I just pay the bill, okay? But the
Same with
reality
me, I pay the
is,
bill.
we should look into it, and we should ask also why this hasn't been chased down by the.
And I did, and that's why.
But I don't, but understand, they don't work for us.
And
They're
that's what they say,
elected.
but they also told Michael that, Michael, sorry, we send the bill out and people just don't pay, and we just keep going
No,
forward.
no. So you're using two places, okay, that don't have a place in town. So they're not sending them a bill, but they're sending you a bill. We have one on here now, tonight, that's a little bit later on, that says, where is it? Taco X.
Taco
or
X.
whatever. Taco X was getting a personal property tax because they leased the building, they had equipment, and they didn't pay their last year or two of property taxes, but they're no longer here, so, it's like how much money?
Not much. Three figures, I
Three
think.
$300?
So
Yeah,
three
I
or
looked
eight,
at it
I got
earlier.
it somewhere.
Okay, so for us, now that company is out of business, so we really can't go after them, but they were paying for a couple of years prior to that. So what I'm getting at is that he said that he's looking at it. We as a board, we don't have, because they're elected. And it's the same thing like Lucretia. Lucretia is an elected clerk, and everyone thinks that the town manager and the board sets her time, sets her working habits or whatever, Lucretia, but we don't. You're the town clerk, and you're elected by the town voters, and you don't have to report to the town manager, correct, Lucretia?
No, I basically asked Michael if he can look into it, and he said, absolutely
Right.
sure, let's do it, and that's why we met with the listers. I brought the subject, that's why I brought the subject in the front of you guys.
Right.
Let's have a conversation, because for me, it's getting too expensive to live in this town, we're all moving out of here. I can easily put an address, Mendon, and bring my truck, park it there if it makes it easier, but I'm saving $2,200 at least, so basically, you guys are the ones. We should be focused on how we can retain the current people here who are paying taxes, even me with personal property tax, because it's getting too expensive.
But what I'm really smiling or kind of laughing, because it would be like me cheating the IRS and going and saying XYZ is not paying their federal taxes. And yeah, I'm not giving you the real amount of money either that I'm supposed to give.
But it's an option.
It's not, no, it's not an option, because they can bill you now.
I have a place in Mendon, I can just put my address there.
So then do that. So do that.
But it's
what I'm
easier for
saying
you
is-
to start enforcing the law, and
But
somehow we should
gonna-
be collecting.
No,
but-
it's
but what
not
I'm
up to
saying,
us to
it's not
enforce the
up to
law.
us. It's
That's what
not
we're trying
up
to say.
us. It's the listers. So you're asking us, and we will go to the listers. Now that we understand that it's directly, because you're asking us, and we will go. And the number one person, the first one to prove it, because it's your great idea, we're going to audit your books and find out what real personal property you have. And if you have $1 million worth of excavators and trucks and everything else, then you're gonna get a bill for $10,000 times the tax rate, which will be $6,000. And,
Or vice versa, if it was less.
or
it'd
if
be
it's less, then it will be less. But if you want us to start
And
auditing, but if
it
you
will be
want.
done to everybody. I'm okay, but I've been paying and other people have
I
not
think
been
it,
paying,
and
and that's
just
my problem.
understand it's on depreciated value.
Right.
No, I know, yeah.
And so
So
it's,
if-
it depends on how you depreciate everything else, and so, you know, that's how it's done. So it's like, but again, this is a tax issue, which it really belongs to listers. I'm glad we know about it.
Yeah, but at the end, it's still the money that we collect here, and the money's, I asked Michael said, yeah, these money are being spent here. So obviously, would be nice, so are we gonna go back 20 years, and let's say if the other competition, you know, they did not pay, we did not collect $200,000, we just let it slide, just because we were not paying attention?
So,
Is that what's
so
gonna happen?
your suggestion is that if someone, we find someone, that has not been paying the proper amount of personal property tax, we go back how far?
I don't know.
No, we're asking you.
I give you an example, I've been here 20 years, and for
There's gotta
example,
be,
this one business.
I think there's gonna be a law about it.
No, but Andrew has a suggestion, and you're suggesting that we look, so I want to make sure first, should we go back to 20 years that you've been doing it? And if we can, should we go after every person that hasn't been paying personal property taxes for the last 20 years? Every person that has not been paying their personal property taxes correctly. Should we go back
What's
20
the
years?
limit? But at the same time, you as a select board, right? So, okay, so if the listers are not doing their job, what do you do? So we can't do anything about it. Is that my point or not? So obviously, we should be able to bring the subject to you, have a discussion, have a meeting, and then come up with a solution. Because like, but it happened on your, you've been sitting on the select board, and this been happening for all these years, you never even paid attention to it. So I'm just bringing this something
Yeah, okay.
that you guys missed.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think since I've been here, I like to take, I like to say that we've accomplished a lot with picking some things picking things up that have fallen through the cracks. Not in every, not every town manager in every town is a tax collector, okay? It's got to be voted on, but just so happens, in Killington, the town manager is the tax collector. So last week, I did reach out to VLCT's MAC team, which is their legal team, to forward me the tax collector handbook, so I can start the research there. And I have had our attorney bogged down with some more pressing tax issues that actually have
Vacations.
sorry.
Implications.
that are affecting people negatively. And I want that resolved quickly so that people don't get 8% penalties and stuff like that. So, and whether I should be doing that for the listers or not sure, but, you know, it's a small town, I like to help out, you know, my elected
But
officials.
where I'm
So that's
coming from
that's
is,
where I'm at.
you're the tax collector, and a tax collector collects taxes that have been billed. You are not a tax billing person.
Right.
Okay? So I'm just trying to find out that.
Yeah, you're clarifying, you just clarified that it's not
citizen-
Michael's job, you know?
No, we're not clarifying that Michael's doing his job, because it's not his job to do the billing for the last time. What I'm trying to find out is that you're asking the board to get involved. And I'm trying to find out if we can go back 5 years, 10 years, 2 years, or just next year. Is that what you're asking?
I'm asking, let's look at the current one, 2023.
Okay.
Okay. I think
And make sure-
that's a good start.
And make sure that everybody is paying their fair share of personal property taxes, including yourself.
I think I'm paying very fairly. My accountant filled it up. Yes, the last 2 years I didn't bother filling up the form. It's my choice, as I said.
Well, no, your accountant filled it out, but you didn't file it with the town.
I did it 2-3 years ago.
2 or 3 years
Because it cost me more money to do so.
But we're only looking, you just gave direction to this board to only look at the current year, okay? So the current year, you have not filed your personal property tax form out, so you've left it to the listers to take a guess on your personal property tax.
And I already wrote them a check and I paid it.
Right, but that's what you did. You preferred not to fill out the form, okay? Which may, if you fill out the form.
As Pat said, 90% plus do not do it.
Okay.
So just to do for clarification, 90% just take it, throw it out, and write them a check, whatever they list.
And I'm asking you that you want to make sure that everyone is paying their fair share, the correct
Well,
amount.
let's get with the listers.
Okay? So we'll get with the listers, because we can keep on, but number one is, and I'm gonna just fill you in on this, I grieved property taxes in 2008, okay? On a property that they told me was $1 million, all right? And I paid $420,000 for it. I didn't go to the town manager, I wasn't even on the board then. I didn't go to the town manager, I didn't go to the select board, because the process is, I went to the listers, and then if I didn't get the answers that I wanted from the listers, which I didn't, I then asked for a hearing with the BCA, okay? And then the BCA sort of has a control on the taxes from there, not this group here. And then, I didn't get what I liked there, I went to court, okay? And I took it to court. But then it turned out that I was right, okay? It shouldn't have been on for $1 million, it should have been on for a lot less. And I didn't stop for me, I fought for the whole town. And then I found out that the only thing that the select board can do is freeze the lister's budget and say, we will not pay you anymore until we feel you're doing X, okay? But we don't know, because this is the first time we're hearing, we don't know what X is, and that's what we're trying to find out. So leaving that there, Patrick Cushion has his hand raised.
Thank you, Jim. I'd like to say, just as a citizen in town, pays taxes, I would also like to see people that are billed, if they're not reporting correctly, then they can get billed if that's what happens with the town. But if the bills aren't getting paid, I think that's something that we should look into and follow up regardless. If then we find out in that process that people aren't paying the correct amount, you can address that then. But if a bill is going out, like you said, that's a job of the listers. If the bill is going out and not being paid, it should be enforced in some way. Again, if we can figure out how to do that, great. And then the bottom line of the town increases. So I think the back and forth with, will you be the company to go first or not, is kind of not the point here. The point would be, if there's bills going out that should be paid that are not getting paid, that should be addressed.
Yeah, but so...
And if then those bills are grieved because of the incorrect amount, cool, we have a process for that. There should be a process for all of this.
But Patrick, there is a process for that. If the bill goes out and it's not paid, it goes then to the tax collector, which then Michael, as the town manager, is the tax collector. Andrew is not arguing about the bills going out. He's arguing about bills not going out to people that may not be in this town, but has personal property in this town. So it's like the town of Killington.
She did send the bills to Tom Brook Landscaping.
Tom,
So he
Andrew,
did.
I'm running the meeting here, and I'm talking to the person here. So that would be like taking Casella, that has garbage dumpsters in every person's property that runs a business, but their property is over in West Rutland or whatever, I think, for the garbage, okay? And saying that they need to pay personal property for every single
Casella is on that
dumpster.
list.
What?
Casella is on that list. Green Mountain Power is on that list.
But not for the garbage stuff or whatever, okay? Or we would be billing Casella.
They bill
So
them for
we're gonna
personal
have to,
property.
we're gonna have to, what I'm trying to tell Patrick is, Patrick, what you're asking for is done.
It's already
Now-
done, it's on the list.
Yeah, so there's personal property tax on the grand list. We go to tax sale after 2 years. So in a case that we have number 11 on tonight, okay, it says cancellation of debt for Taco X. They're bankrupt, they're gone, they're not in business. So there's no way that we can get the money that they owe us for the last 2 years, okay? We haven't gone to a tax sale yet. So,
Sure.
Lucretia,
And then how often does the town, like you said, do an audit of who is conducting business or that is,
Lester's question.
not the target's the wrong word, but the focus of these taxes, how often does that happen, or is that all self-reported?
So our zoning does not say if one rents a building from, if there's a building that has offices in it, the only way that person would need to come is if they went for a new sign, okay? The town doesn't, I have an issue with this as far as a zoning administrator. We don't know who's in town, okay? But that's what people voted on in zoning, and that's the rules that we're going by. So, someone could start a business up XYZ, someone could start up XYZ business, a massage company, a hair cutting place, another garbage company or whatever. And, if they're working out of their house, it's,
And Lucretia and I talked about this a little bit last week, so it's in motion. I hope that gives you some confidence there, Anthony. We're just trying to get our questions right, to phrase them to the attorney in a good way. And, I'm not sure that you can put personal property tax up for tax sale, but I know historically, I believe Dave Lewis used to place liens for it. So it's an avenue. We just want to make sure. I think what a good answer to this would be for, over the next 2 weeks, for me to get some good answers from council. And if the board wishes to hear them, I can report them to you, or I can just go straight to Andrew, who's requested them.
I think,
I'd just like to know what he really
we should
wants,
know,
what he's asking for.
we should have knowledge of it.
And if we're going to say that X company is in town and not paying, and we're going to say you need to pay your fair share, then we should go to even those that are and say you need to pay your fair share. And the answer, I'm sorry, is not, it cost me $900 to get my accountant to put the sheet together, so I'm not going to do it anymore. The answer is that I filled out the form.
You're
and I gave it.
bringing me into this just to kind of shame me. I'm the whistleblower. I'm just telling you guys what I found. We're not collecting $20,000, $30,000 additional to our budget, and you're trying to basically make me look bad.
No, I'm trying to say.
That's exactly how you
handle.
handled the KSR case.
Yeah.
That's exactly why.
So what's up with KSR?
If you went to college like I did, you would have known that one unhappy customer tells 10.
Yeah.
You pissed off 40 people.
Okay.
Plus, they're gonna tell another 10 times, so 40 times 10 is 400. We have lots of people here unhappy with that decision. And this coming March, they're gonna come and vote, and then we'll see what's gonna happen.
Okay. So is that why you're really
And then soon,
Is that
you
what
will
you're really
say if
here?
I'm sitting on your place, or you're keep sitting there. But that vote is about that you are just like bullying people, like bringing me, trying to shame me into that. I came up forward saying, we're not collecting money.
You came up
And you should be like, Andrew, thank you for that information, we'll do the audit. That's what the leaders technically do.
And I said we'll
Not
do an
picking,
audit.
you know what, you're gonna be the first one. You should be doing this.
Oh, okay.
This is the personality.
Yeah,
People are fed up with that
yeah.
personality, and
So-
that's why I'm the only one who has the balls to run against you.
Good. Keep the balls. Keep the balls. Now we know why you really came here today, so thank you.
Well, I was overtaxed for 10 years and I didn't get any money back.
Yeah.
So should I come after you for that?
Do you have the balls?
No. But same thing,
So,
we had the
okay.
wrong value.
So is there anyone else in the audience that has anything that's not on the agenda? Not hearing that? I believe we're going to Traffic Advisory Committee appointment. Do you have a suggestion here, Michael?
Yeah, so a couple of meetings ago, the select board appointed Hecker as the traffic advisory committee, but we missed an email where he told us that he actually couldn't be on it. So, which works, because it's probably more appropriate for Abbie to sit on that committee. That, they give really good instructions to foremans, directors, when trainings are coming up. So it's kind of a perfect fit. So all I need tonight is for the board to make a resolution.
And Abbie's online right
appoint
now.
her to,
Abbie, you will accept this position?
I will, yes.
Okay. So
You're
you
not-
just need a motion from the board?
You're not under duress?
I'll make a motion that we appoint Abbie Sherman as the Traffic Advisory Committee.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, we got public informational meeting on the replacement of Bridge 28 on US Route 4 over Kent Brook. Are you making the presentation or the person online?
I'm making the presentation.
Okay.
I'm gonna,
Can you first say your name so the person writing the minutes will have it on the, and there's a speaker above you so they'll hear it.
perfect. It's Laura Stone with VTrans.
Okay?
So hopefully everybody can hear me, and I'm gonna go ahead and try to share my screen. I
Okay.
think you're going to have to,
If you can't do it, I'm ready to help you out.
it says host disabled participant screen.
Okay, how about
share.
this? Give it a shot now.
There we go. Share.
Good deal.
I don't know where it is. Where's Kent Brook?
I'll show you.
Go grab my water out of the car.
Okay. So it seems like you have a long agenda tonight, so I'll try to move this through quickly. I do have quite a few slides. So if you need me to slow down at any point, just let me know. But this is the regional concerns meeting for Bridge 28 over Kent Brook on US Route 4. It's technically considered a bridge because it's a culvert over 6 feet, but it is a culvert. So it's one of those structures that you can drive over it and you don't even know that there's a structure underneath you. So I'm Laura Stone, I'm the VTrans Scoping Project Manager. There's also Mahindra Thiliar online, and he's going to be the Design Project Manager. So really the purpose of the meeting, we want to discuss our approach to the project, talk about the project constraints, discuss our selected our alternative for the project, and really at the bottom there I provide an opportunity to ask questions and voice concerns. I'm happy to have this interactive, and if you have a question during the presentation, you can just ask. So US Route 4, Bridge 28, is located right at this red circle here. It's located east of the Vermont Route 100 North intersection, and it's located right at the junction, right at the line between the commercial Route 4 district and the Forest Reserve. So here's an aerial map. So the culvert is represented by this blue arrow right here. So as you can see, the commercial district ends right about here, and it's technically in this Forest Reserve area. Do you know where that is now?
Yes.
Okay.
Near the new town hall?
So I'll briefly talk about the project development process at VTrans. Again, we're going to talk about the existing conditions of the structure, the alternatives we considered in our scoping report, and the selected alternative. I'm going to talk about maintenance of traffic schedules, when you can expect to see this in construction, summary, and again, questions at the bottom, but I'm happy to take questions whenever. So this is just a timeline of our VTrans project development process. This is really just to show that the project's at a really early stage of project development. Project has been funded, and this phase called project definition has been initiated. This is when we identify the cultural and environmental resources, the constraints surrounding the project. We evaluate alternatives, which the ending process of that is a scoping report. We have this public participation piece, which is where we are now, and ultimately we want to build consensus towards our selected alternative. After this public participation piece, the project is considered design. That's when we're going to go into project design, identify areas of impact. That's when we're going to start the environmental permitting process, the right-of-way process, really develop the plans for the project. After design, it will go to contract award and then into construction. So again, really early on in the project development process. Here's a picture looking southwest over the culvert. The roadway is classified as a principal arterial. It is on the national highway system. The existing culvert is an 11-foot span corrugated galvanized metal plate pipe. It is owned by the state of Vermont, so there is no town share involved. It's 80% state funded, 80% federally funded, 20% state funded. And the existing culvert was constructed in 1948. So here's a picture looking northeast. There are aerial utilities, electric communications, fiber optic, and telephone that run parallel to US 4 on the southeast side. And there are underground municipal utility sewer that run parallel to US 4 on the northwest side. So the existing site conditions, the culvert is in poor condition. It has heavy rust scale along the exposed top edge of the rust line with deep pitting and moderate to heavy section loss. So we do have quite a few perforations in the culvert running throughout the pipe, which have produced visible piping, causing noticeable minor drop in the water line along this area. So piping is when water starts running on the outside of the culvert through those holes that are in the culvert, and it washes the material around the outside of the culvert away. The existing culvert does not meet the measured 30-foot bank full width of Kent Brook, so it is undersized hydraulically by almost a third. So the existing pipe has a span of 11 feet, and really what we need to see here for hydraulics is 30 feet. US Route 4 has substandard shoulder widths along US Route 4 through the project area. Very minorly substandard, but we can bring that up to standard with the project. So here's the bridge inspection report ratings. The culvert is rated a 4, it's in poor condition, and the channel is rated a 6, it's in satisfactory condition. Here's looking downstream. You can see there's this really large scour hole at the outlet. That's really indicative of an undersized structure, just because water is really just shooting out of this thing and it's scouring that material in there. This is a picture of the inlet. So there is a high debris load at this site. As you can see, this can plug the culvert and make it so the waterway area is even further reduced. There's the outlet again. There's a little drop at the outlet, which makes it impossible to pass fish. And just some pictures of the inside. You can see here's some of the holes, the perforations that are located in the culvert. So the existing resources, there is wildlife habitat in this area. It is forest reserve. It's a top priority for wildlife passage and AOP. AOP is aquatic organism passage, so that's fish, salamanders, other aquatic species. Currently, the existing culvert does not pass fish or wildlife. So here's the existing conditions layout. So this is a bird's eye view. So if you were flying in the sky above the road and looking down, this gray rectangle here is the existing culvert. And you'll notice how long it is, and I'll explain why that is on the next slide. These red lines here, that is the state-owned right-of-way. So as you can see, the existing culvert is located just outside that right-of-way, so we're definitely going to need rights for this project. Also, the utilities mentioned is this ECT line right here. So here's a channel profile. So this is like if you were underneath the road, looking at by the center line of the road. There is approximately 30 feet of fill above this culvert. So that is quite a lot of fill. So just based on the side slopes, so there's slope stability there. That's why that culvert has to be so long. Design criteria and consideration. So there's an average daily traffic of just over 10,000 vehicles per day. Design hourly volume, so that's in your peak hour of traffic. You would see 1,300 vehicles in that hour, and a percent trucks of 14.3. So the alternatives we considered in the scoping report, no action. Obviously, this is in poor condition. There's perforations. Something needs to be done. Next, we looked at a culvert rehabilitation. We could put a liner through this. We would expect to get a 15 to 50-year design life based on the type of rehabilitation. There'd be very minimal traffic impacts with a rehabilitation, which is why we sometimes like to look at them. But, you know, with that substandard bank full width and this being, rehabilitation would decrease hydraulic capacity, we kind of strike that out. It wouldn't be permittable. Next, we looked at a full bridge replacement with a new buried structure. This would meet the hydraulic standard, so it would be constructed with a 30-foot minimum clear span. The new structure length would be designed to meet the minimum roadway width standard, so we would increase the width of the road slightly. And we design all of our new structures to 75-year design life. Next, based on that 30-foot span, we also looked at an at-grade steel ream bridge. So that's like a more conventional bridge type that has a bridge deck and bridge railing on the sides. It would also meet the minimum hydraulic standards. It would meet the minimum geometric standards and have a 75-year design life. And what we selected here is the most cost-effective solution, both in the short term for construction and long-term maintenance, is a new buried structure. It's not exposed to the elements, and it's not exposed to the salting of the road when it's buried, so we really do like to keep these as buried structures. Again, a 30-foot minimum span. Based on that span length, it couldn't be a new culvert like a four-sided structure. It needs to have an open bottom. Minimum hydraulic standard, bank full width conditions would be met. The standard typical roadway section here is 10, 11, 11, 11, 10. So what that means is there are 3 11-foot travel lanes with 10-foot shoulders on either side. And again, we designed to a 75-year design life. So here's what the new layout would look like. This is showing a 30-foot span structure, really in the same spot. There is some opportunity here, and it will really be determined in design, to swing this bottom section out this way and make this go more at an angle to the road, like so. But that's really, it's a design detail. There could be some advantages to that. Again, it will meet the minimum roadway width standard of 53 feet and a design life of 75 years. So this is showing just like a typical section of a new buried structure. So you can see this is showing an 11-foot span culvert in the middle. And you can really see how much wider this structure will be. It will be able to pass all that woody debris that falls into Kent Brook. So maintenance of traffic, and that's what everybody's always really interested in. So we looked at the regular 3 and off-site detour. Off-site detour, we would close the road and we would detour around. This is a really significant detour length here. Next, we looked at phased construction, which involves maintaining traffic over the existing structure. We would cut the structure in half and replace one half. Then we would move traffic over to that newly constructed section while we construct the other half. So it does allow the road to stay open during construction. It does have reduced lane widths and sort of a long construction season just because it's constructed. Everything has to be done twice, basically. Next, we looked at a temporary bridge. It could be on either side of the road. Either side would have existing right-of-way impacts. So our selected maintenance of traffic was really wide open here. We didn't decide phase construction or temporary bridge, but we do realize that this road needs to stay open and to two-way traffic throughout construction. So traffic will either be phased or we will construct a two-way temporary bridge, and that's going to be determined in design. There is a lot of width there with the 7-foot shoulders, I think is what's there existing, and the three travel lanes really gives us a lot of width to play with for traffic control. Preliminary project schedule, right now we have this in our budget for 2027 with a total estimated cost of $4.8 million. That 2027, it's a little aggressive, that could move out to 2028 based on any needed utility relocations, any snags in the right-of-way process, but we do try to keep to those dates, within a year or so. So project summary, replace the existing culvert with a new 3-sided buried structure while maintaining two-way traffic through the project area. Again, traffic will be maintained either with phased construction or on a temporary bridge. Constructing this to the minimum hydraulic standards of the 30-foot minimum span. There is a shorter construction duration compared to an at-grade bridge with the buried structure option. We're going to widen those shoulders that are out there to 10 feet, and the new structure will have a 75-year design life. So before I open it up to questions, there is this website at the top, and the town was provided this website, and the meeting notification has this website. So this presentation tonight will be up on that. That's a public-facing site. All future presentations and plan sets will also be on that website, so the public can track the project as it goes through the development process.
Chris, you have any questions?
Yeah, it seems very similar to what we experienced.
You have any
this past
questions?
summer.
I have a question about town-owned utilities.
Sure.
So if there is a town-owned utility, would it be our responsibility to have it engineered?
That's a good question. So it has to do with whether the utilities are in our right-of-way or not in our right-of-way, whether the town has a share in that, and whether you have rights for that location where they are.
Okay.
But I will check back with you with an email
Okay.
to let you know.
When you talked about 7 foot currently for the setbacks or, outside of the road, going to 10 feet, the shoulders?
The shoulders, yep.
Yeah. So how far of that from, is it just at the pipe for the 30 feet or whatever?
It's really, so if you can see in this picture, and I know it's really, really small, but this dashed line here is the existing shoulder.
Right.
And so we're proposing to move it out a little bit on either side. So again, this dashed line is the existing shoulder.
So what I would...
So it would go out to these limits. We usually go like 150 feet on either side. This is
Okay.
about, 200 feet from the culvert.
And then you'll be going 200 feet heading west also.
We got that force mains right there.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I thought. So we think there's a force main there, is what we're saying.
Okay.
Sanitary sewer.
We know there is.
Sanitary sewer.
But
Yeah, so-
you'll be doing that in your design when you get going to that.
Yes, we will, and we're going to have a consultant on board for this. It's possible that we could maintain it in place and just work around it. Maybe it doesn't need a relocation, maybe it does. And I don't have the exact location and the exact depth of that sewer line, so that's something that moving forward, we'll design it into the project, what needs to happen with that.
So when will you be finished with the next part of this phase? Far as moving, as you said, where you're at, and then the next phase is...
So next phase is the design phase.
Right.
So we should have a consultant on board within the next couple weeks, and it's really quick. I'll pass this off to Mahindra by the end of this week, and Once a consultant is on board and hired, they'll start developing conceptual plans. So pretty quickly, once that gets started.
Okay. And they'll survey and see where the force main is and everything else?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
Okay. So I'm going to go to the audience or whatever, Jim Theodore. Just say your name so the person...
Yeah, Jim Theodore, and this is Deb Dalton. We own the property, the driveway that you see right there on the right, just to the east of the, I call it the south side of the road. So it looks like your expansion is going to, of that side, that breakdown lane probably goes right to the driveway. Would we have any responsibility? I'm assuming that it's just going to be a grade change right there if you're going to push it back a little. No issue for us. There's plenty of setback there. Yeah, right there.
This far back, we're not going to be changing. This is really like the project approach area.
Sure.
We wouldn't be changing the grade of the road significantly, if at all, up here. You know,
Right.
this is just a new, some new pavement, some new subbase. Access to both of these drives here will be maintained throughout construction.
Yeah,
It's going to be maintained at all times. And will usually, a project will involve like a new paved apron. So like a new 5-foot paved apron
Yeah,
onto your
take it as far as you want. And then just to that east side, as a utility pole, is that what that line is, that dotted line? And right about there.
Yes.
So I'd have to bring new underground, I've already dug it and my conduit's in the ground, but that won't be affected at all. Shouldn't be.
It depends. If we need a utility relocation, that's going to be something that's part of the design.
It's set back quite a ways, so if you're not going to interrupt that road much, it shouldn't be. This is them actually building, we're ready to pull wire through that soon, so I just want to make sure we don't do anything that needs to be changed. I wouldn't think so,
It would be, yeah, so these public utilities and any utility access, any utility like offset that goes to your property, that would be a participating cost of the project, and so you wouldn't be on the hook for any costs of that if they did need to be relocated.
Right.
Because this electric line goes over the existing culvert, and I want to say there's even a pole right here.
Yeah, it looks like it.
On top of where we're proposing to put the new culvert. We're going to have cranes lifting sections of this structure in place, and there's certain setbacks that the cranes need from aerial utilities. And so it's likely that we could put a pole out here temporarily or permanently and have these aerial utilities, it's not designed yet, but
Sure.
it's very likely that those utilities are going to have to move.
Any other questions?
No, I don't know, Andrew, if you want to bring up something about, there's a curb cut there.
I'm going in line here.
Okay.
So, do you guys have any questions? Doesn't have anything?
This is similar to what was done on Route 4 at Spring Hill, right?
I believe so. Andrew, you have any questions?
No.
Okay. Anybody in the audience on Zoom have any questions? Patrick? Anybody else other than Patrick there outside of Jerry Russell?
No, I'm good.
Is Jerry Russell still on?
No questions at all.
Okay. Okay.
I have just one quick one. I don't want to take up people's time, but does V-Trans ever install heated bridges
No,
around the
not
state?
that I've heard.
No, okay.
Really angry.
Just kind of higher elevation and, huh?
Did they get Virginia?
Yeah, it's called
Yeah.
Sun.
They did, yeah. Yeah.
Keep that
Thank you
My uncle built
It's a
one.
good
That
idea.
one.
The what?
My uncle built one.
Oh, we built one.
Well, no, I mean with the state.
Oh, with the state, really?
Yeah, yeah.
And how'd they heat it?
Yeah, I didn't ask that much. I guess it was just a box there and it was just powered by electricity. Yeah, I imagine. I know what you're saying.
It's cheaper down there.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, Lisa Davis Lewis, number 9 is Cannabis Bylaw Public Hearing. That's for us, correct? That we're opening up the hearing, or is this an actual hearing?
Yes, it's a hearing that's been warned.
Right.
I'll let A couple of weeks ago, you guys made a motion to warn the hearing. I gave a little overview on what the planning commission had adopted. If you
I don't think I have anything in your package. I don't have anything in your package.
Well, do you have the wording for me to, I'm gonna, at 7:33 PM, open up the public informational hearing for cannabis bylaw zoning. For a second, Chris?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Can you bring it up there?
Yeah, I'm pulling up the revised draft. Gonna share it. Okay.
Can everybody see that on the Zoom link? Okay. So, Lisa, would you like to go through it to the board? And I've looked at it. Chris, you've looked at it. You know.
Sure. The first changes really are in the definitions section. In the definition section, if you run through, and those are really the definitions of the different type of cannabis establishments. Those definitions are provided by the Cannabis Control Commission and the state legislature. And just want to, everyone to understand when we're talking about cannabis in the context of this regulation, it's cannabis that's regulated by the CCC. So it's not cannabis that you're growing for your own personal consumption, and it's not cannabis, if you make some gummies and you give them out as Christmas presents. This is not what we're regulating. We're regulating licensed establishments. We're also not regulating outdoor cultivation because the state legislature has determined that outdoor cultivation of cannabis is really the same as agriculture and should be regulated as agriculture and not as cannabis establishment. We are regulating the indoor cultivation of cannabis because that is different than outdoor cultivation. So moving through the tables, the definitions onto the use table, you can see
in there. These are more up to date than just the cannabis changes, but I'll find the cannabis changes.
This is a different version. Keep going. I think you went past the use table, Michael.
Okay.
So we added, in the commercial business district, we added, there you go.
Yeah,
We added,
That's the Valley District.
okay, so in the Valley District, we added indoor cultivation, manufacturing, testing, and wholesale establishments. And in the commercial district, we allowed the same uses, but we added retail establishments. But those retail establishments are only allowed in the Killington Basin Commercial District. We have, I think you were on commercial.
Yeah.
I think if you go down, you'll see it.
You'll see right there.
Right there. So those are commercial districts and they're establishments. They're cannabis establishments and they're allowed in the commercial district, but in the Killington Basin section only. Our zoning, which actually is not a change we made, although we did recently change the map, breaks the commercial district into the Killington Basin section, which is defined as the area from between Schoolhouse Road and the Lookout. And then the commercial Route 4 section. I think as everyone knows, nightclubs are allowed only in the Killington Basin section. So we're proposing at this point that cannabis establishments be allowed only in the Killington Basin section. I do want to emphasize that retail establishments will only be allowed if there's a positive vote on March 4th. The town needs to opt in for retail establishments. The other types of establishments, like manufacturing, is allowed as soon as somebody gets a license from the CCC. Moving down to the conditional use section, we made all cannabis establishments conditional uses, which mean they all have to go to the Design Development Review Board, the DRB. It's section 302 of the bylaw. And we added in, a couple of additional requirements. First of all, the state mandates that there must be, retail establishments have to be at least 500 feet from any schools, and that would include the elementary school, the Killington Mountain School. If, a school runs a church, it would be in that area. We also added that we wanted some separation from daycare facilities and recreation facilities, but we put that in there as well. That summarizes the use table, so it's kind of the same thing that I already went through. And then scrolling down, I think we indicated that cannabis retail establishments, we capped the size at, I think, 3,500 square feet for retail floor area, and we're requiring a security plan and an odor control plan. And then we also said that retail establishments won't be allowed as a home-based business. Again, only home-based businesses, only within the commercial district. So if somebody has a home and they live in the commercial district and they want to manufacture gummies and they get a license as a home-based business, we would allow that. Subject to the DRB reviewing their plan and granting conditional use permit. So that's a pretty quick summary of the bylaw, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
There are no tax implications to the town. No options tax comes in on either side, correct?
Correct.
There'll be fees
Just wanted
for
to clear, that's all.
DRB or whatever.
Yeah, the only income is, it's
Yeah,
only just
like a
personal
district.
business, all I'll be doing.
Right,
Yeah.
so,
There was some confusion surrounding it, that's why I wanted to bring it up.
right, so. I'm gonna go, I have no other questions. Jim and Jan, do you have any questions? Okay. And-
I have a question. Lisa, how come a business district wasn't included there? Because it's still Killington Road?
The planning commission really decided that they wanted to keep it in a pretty compact area to start, see how it goes. I mean, Jennifer had said that, let's see how the vote goes. Let's see how many licenses are issued. Let's see how it operates. And then if after some period of time, the planning commission feels that it's appropriate to expand to other zoning districts, then they would be open to doing so.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody online, Patrick or Jerry, have any questions?
All good.
Jerry? Rob
I'm
Montgomery?
good, no problem.
Whit? Are you there, Whit?
Yeah, I'm all set. No questions on my end right now.
Okay. So I'll take a motion to accept the
Yep.
cannabis.
Yep, make a motion to accept the cannabis as
Close the
such.
hearing first.
Yeah.
Oh, we gotta close the
okay.
hearing.
So I'll make a motion to close the hearing at 7:42 for the
Second.
cannabis
Second.
bylaw public hearing. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. A motion to accept as written.
Mm-hmm.
So moved.
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, Lisa. Thanks for all the hard work on this, too.
A lot of work.
Sure. Oops, I don't know if I'm muted now. Have a good evening, everyone.
Okay, you too.
So we're moving on to false alarm and fire department ordinance.
By we, I mean myself, Whit, and Paul, who are attending the meeting today, have been working on the false alarm ordinance and the department reimbursement ordinance. The only big changes that we were making to it were in regards to who the document references, and that was the Sherman Volunteer Fire Department and constables, and we don't operate under those systems anymore. So the majority of the changes to these documents were just to replace that language with either police chief or the Killington Fire and Rescue Service.
Nothing else changes within the ordinance?
The only change that we could maybe call significant, which it really isn't, is who registers their alarm through. So, and that's just for consistency. It stated both, you could either go to police chief or you could go to the fire chief, and we thought just for simplicity, pick one. So that's what we did, and that was advice from our attorney as well. So, and Paul thought it was most appropriate to go to him. And if anyone has any questions about it.
So yeah, I do, because like my alarms are registered with the state police. Does that continue on or not?
It does, and it's why we thought it'd be most appropriate to go through Paul, because really most of them are going to be Knox boxes. But I'll it'd be best probably, since I've got them here, and instead of me stumbling through answers, it'd probably be best for Paul and Whit to answer those.
Would you like to talk about the alarm registration with the state first?
Sure. So both the fire and police are two different entities as far as the alarms go. So there's not going to be any change as far as registering citizens registering the alarm with the state police. It's actually the state agency, and as long as there's no cost for that, for the registration part with the state, as long as the town has a municipal department who is a primary responding agency, which the town of Killington does, so there's not any cost involved with that because we're the primary agency. So that'll be the same. So what that'll allow us to do whenever we're on duty or state police are on duty, the dispatcher will have access to that list and they'll dispatch the closest officer if the alarm is registered. If it's not registered or not updated, or the state has their own, false alarm things, it eventually becomes a non-response alarm. State police usually will not respond. We as Killington Police will respond regardless whether it's registered or not. So as far as that goes, that does not change.
There's still a fee.
There's not a fee for, if you're paying a fee, then there's a mistake that was made because there's a primary law enforcement agency, which is us.
I don't think they've updated, but it's good to know. Thanks.
I'm going to stick to the document that we have in front of us, and we said that we were going to go with police or fire, but 3.1 says the alarm system, and it says in it here, any mechanism or device that is used in a building or premises for the detection of a fire, burglary, or unauthorized entry is designed to transmit to an alarm monitoring company and signal message warning or indication on an occurrence requiring a police or fire department response. So that's saying this is being called a false alarm ordinance, but I know I received a phone call at like 6:30 in the morning one day for an alarm, more of a burglar alarm going off in a store.
Yes.
So would this make it that if somebody didn't register theirs, because I don't think that one's registered, and that's why it's not contacting the police or whatever?
Correct.
So this goes in place, then we have something to say they need to register their fire alarm? I mean, they have burglar alarm?
Burglar, yeah, the way I understand, the way I read that, yes, they'll give us, the town, some teeth or stuff like that.
Okay, all right, so that's that there. And then I go to 3.5, second page, the key lockbox. High-security key vault, which shall be a Knox box, which, you know, system approved by the police department and fire department. I mean, isn't it just really a knock box and it's...
But it's a code that the town has only, so it's...
It's a key for just the whole, there's one for the whole
Right,
town.
you have to buy a box.
Right.
And you have to,
But what I'm getting at here is it's saying is approved by the police and fire department. I thought we were moving to just saying that. So,
Knox boxes are strictly fire. Police do not have a key for the Knox box.
right,
If someone were to register their, if it's a burglar alarm, there should be something there for the police entity to gain access.
right.
It should be something separate than a Knox box. We do not have keys for Knox boxes.
That's where I'm getting at with 3.5, because
Right.
it's calling for a Knox box, and it's saying, shall be a Knox box rapid entry master key system approved by the police department and the fire department, and that was my understanding with that. You don't get this key, it's just a fire department key, and my understand, Paul, is that these keys are locked inside the vehicle also. It's like a glove compartment box that's locked.
it's a key
So
code.
the,
Key code?
the,
Code, get it.
so the fire apparatus have lock boxes in them that are keypad operated, and the existing boxes are outdated. They are not supported by Knox box anymore. So instead of leaving the keys just loose, each of the shift captains is issued a key, and I have a key. That way we maintain custody of the key 24/7.
Okay, but the police department shouldn't really be on here as approving the key.
They have nothing to do with Knox boxes.
Right, so if we can take out the police department, okay?
I have one edit in here too, I might
Yeah,
make later
okay.
on.
So then the other thing is like in 2010 or 11, I remember we went putting some of this stuff together, and it's been an ordinance for a while, and the fees and everything on it, and it's just another one of those, like exactly what you're talking about, Andrew. I mean, you might think I'm bullying you, I'm asking questions, but we don't bill these, you know, like, and then I was told from
We did.
the old fire department, maybe when you were on there, but Paul,
We had one.
how long was, Paul, have you seen really anyone being fined for false alarms? I know the board before you came, like the year before, maybe it was when you first came on, we had a house up on Spring Hill Road.
Yeah, we got money out of them.
Yeah, but that was because we forced it. The board,
Yeah, I know.
like Andrew's asking, we forced it, okay, on that. That we have control of, but it was because of the short-term rental program that we can tell that person that they weren't gonna get a rental, and then they had to pay it, and then we put it up on and we attached it to the property, but it was never being charged. The fire department we used to get, before you, and maybe all of a sudden, like 2.5 years ago, it disappeared. We would get a report every single quarter that would have the fire department calls of, and it would say false alarm, XYZ, Road A, XYZ-B. And then it was like looking through it and going, why are we getting to this XYZ-A road? And then I counted, and there were like 70 calls in a 1.5 year period. And this is before Paul came on. It was like over 2 years ago. And saying, well, how is that happening? And then no one was billing at the fire department, and they had the authority. So, Paul, can you explain to us how that's going to be different? That we've had this thing in place for a while, but the fire department was not, the volunteer fire department was not billing the folks, and it took the select board to put something in place to do it. So, do we have something in place to actually enforce this?
So if you look at the existing ordinance, and you're correct on the history on that, originally this ordinance was created back in October of 2005. I cannot speak for anything that was done by the Sherman Volunteer Fire Department prior to me coming on board. I can tell you that I saw nothing from the 6 months of Chief Lahart where the fire department was doing any type of enforcement of this ordinance. Since I came on board in July, I have already heard somebody mention the property on Spring Hill. I took the approach with that property owner of going out and talking with him, looking at the system, and in conjunction with his alarm company, they changed some heads out and such. And since we did that 2 months ago, we've had one alarm at that address, and that was a result of a power outage.
Okay.
As far as the existing ordinance goes, the process is already in place. It defines what offenses are chargeable. And so in that spirit, it's simply a matter of maintaining a log of alarm activations and then applying the ordinance as it's already stated.
Okay. And I'm just getting at that it has been in place, but the previous group was not enforcing it. They're just going to
From what
the
I can tell,
call.
that is correct.
Right, and I'm going back years or whatever.
Yep.
So
And
then my,
talking with some of the members that have been on the department for a while, nobody could recollect where there was any enforcement being done.
so now you brought up a thing that one false alarm because of a power outage. Now,
Correct.
I would hope that, you know, we're not, if there's a known power outage, you know, that an alarms are going off, we're not gonna be then billing these people for a power outage, are we?
No, we're not.
There's a clause in here that speaks towards that as well.
Can you point it?
That is correct.
Okay,
And there's also a clause in here which defines false alarms
right.
and
Okay.
the types of alarms that would constitute a false alarm.
Okay.
Yeah, it's pretty much, you know, on a commercial basis, I dealt with it, and, you know, there are times we would call the fire department off, but it was an activated head, and we would, you know that which head was activated, we'd silence the alarm.
Right.
And not reset it until we had permission to do so from the fire department.
Right, okay.
So we can change it, it's like,
Yeah.
if we've got a problem, we want to know about it, but,
Yeah.
Right.
And one thing that I would like to stress with the board, with the residents of the town, is we dusted this ordinance off really with just the purpose of updating it and removing the references to Sherburne Volunteer Fire Department. It's not going to be used as a club to go out and start collecting monies. It's my intent to work with property owners if we have trouble alarms. We're going to use every measure possible to get those fixed without going with the enforcement route.
Okay. All right. Can I get a motion to accept?
Yeah, I make a motion, we accept the changes that are presented to us regarding the false alarm ordinance.
Second. All in favor? Any questions on the, Andrew? Jim and Jen? In the audience before we vote? Patrick, Jerry, Kurt? What?
One change I'm going to make to this ordinance is it specifies, and I noticed this right before the meeting, was that a copy of the ordinance has to be published in the Rutland Herald. I'm probably going to change that to a locally circulating newspaper.
I would agree.
No questions asked, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thanks a lot, Paul and Whit.
Oh, we got one more for you.
Absolutely.
You guys got one more. Town of Killington Fire Department Service Reimbursement Ordinances. And just so you guys know, these have both been pre-approved by our attorneys. And this one is strictly along the lines that it was just changed from the Sherburne Volunteer Fire Department to the Killington Fire and
Yep.
Rescue Service.
Yeah, I think that's good. I mean, it costs, for these accidents and stuff that they're going out to, when we're tying up trucks and manpower for a length of time period that they often are, we should be reimbursed for it.
So, my only questions here is, once again, the same, since, certain people, 40, and then they tell 10 and 10 and 10, and it's 400. This is once again, and if you go to the last page, okay, the date of amendment put in place, the first one was in 2017, October 17th, enacted. The first one really was October 4th of 2010, and when the Sherman Volunteer Fire Department came to the Select Board, it was Bernie Rome, Chris Bianchi, and myself on the board back in that time there. And they asked for this kind of thing to be put in place in case somebody hits a guardrail or a town guardrail.
Town asset.
You can get the information and then bill the insurance company for it. Then they came in, there was pricing for per unit or whatever going out, Paul. Like if you had to send out a truck, they were looking for reimbursement back then in those days. And we put it into place because they had asked us for it. And then in 2017, they came back again saying that they needed one. And in now we're here in 2024. 2017, it came to us, and it was like, it's already in place. So I just gonna come back to, once again, like, the fire department, and it's not you, Paul, because you aren't here, but they were asking for these ordinances to be put in place, but nobody was actually doing what they were asking us to approve. Which comes back to, like, why do we have personal property tax, or why do we have this, or why do we have that? And because it then comes back to, we're not billing it, and then all of a sudden it's our fault, okay? So what I'm getting at is what is in place differently? Back then they were talking about if it came in, you were involved in this, it was like you would take down the car number or something like that or whatever, and then it was gonna be handed over to some third-party service, but it never got handed over to the third-party service. Are we looking at a third-party service, or are we gonna do this in-house, Paul?
We're looking at doing this in-house. I'd already talked with Mike about having the town office handle the invoicing.
And I've passed that along to Linda, so it's on her radar, so she knows as the reports start coming out.
Okay.
So we're fine.
So those are my questions. I mean,
We've had some successful billing, though. Whit just had, he got a bill that was paid.
yeah, but this is for the Killington Fire Department. This is not the police. The police has a separate thing.
Okay.
I'm just getting at that, I really do hate putting in ordinances and fines if we can't do it. Paul is saying that it's gonna be happening in-house, so then we know that we don't have to go looking at some third party.
We have difference now because we have a full-time chief and we have the ability to accountability. Before, when this was started and enacted, you were still working on volunteer.
Right, so.
Correct.
Okay, so to accept the motion to accept the Town of Killington Fire Department service reimbursement ordinance?
With one change, I expected us to do this back in January 9th, but it took a little bit longer than expected, so I'm gonna
As of today's
erase
date?
that and put as
Okay.
of today's date.
All right, do I have a second, Chris?
Second.
Any questions in the audience? Any questions online, Zoom? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thanks a lot, guys.
Thank you, guys. It feels good to be cleaning up these ordinances.
As long as they actually are
Slowly but
something that
surely.
can get
It's the goal.
actually enacted. So we're through that, so now we have cancellation of debt for Taco X. I think we pretty much already went through it, but earlier. But Taco X is showing Delinquent taxes are as follows. 2020, $36.63, 21, $44.24, 2022, $39.93, for a total of $120.80. So Patrick Cushion had asked the question a little bit earlier, that how do we go after it when the things are billed? But it would be normally 2 years that we would go, so the third year we would have gone after. But during COVID, we were told by the state of Vermont not to go after businesses.
Would you have any reason, could you legally, like in this case, this one happens to be a licensed liquor establishment, would you have the ability not to sign their license or approve of it?
That would be a legal question.
Okay.
So that's one of the questions that you would have to put on for personal property taxes when you hit all the rest of them up, okay?
Okay.
But I'm just explaining to Patrick why those 20, 21, 22, we could not go. And we just had our first tax sale in May, and Taco X was already out of business at that time. So can I get a motion to?
Yeah, make a motion that we cancel the debt.
And I'll second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I've got a whole pile of papers to sign, so these are just drafts.
These are just drafts, okay.
Okay. So we're done with that one there. So now we have TIF annual report certification, otherwise known as, was that certification of increment and annual report? Is that this one?
That's correct. So TIF requires us to submit an annual report. This one was pretty straightforward because we haven't started incurring any debt yet. So what we have here is just the list of source of non-TIF revenues, just general information about our 2022 grand list, expenditures, revenue. This was prepared by Mary Ellen, reviewed by myself, and actually reviewed by Betsy. So it passed muster, and what we're looking for tonight is just a resolution for the board to approve it.
I'll make a motion, approve resolution of the certification of increment and annual report for TIF.
I'll second that.
Any questions in the audience? Any questions on Zoom? Being none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, and you'll have the real document for us to sign?
Yeah, yes.
Okay.
Oh, I signed that one. I just needed you guys to say that you've
So
seen it.
I'll make a motion that we allow the town manager to sign that last document. Okay? All in favor?
Aye.
Financing for Phase 1B and Contract 6B through the Vermont Bond Bank resolution. And for those that don't know, 1B is for Anthony Way to Route 4, and 6B, the road, and 6B is the dry water line that's going in. You want to take it from there? Mark?
Sure. So this was kind of the last piece of funding for Phase 1. It includes Anthony Way to Route 4. It includes the dry line and the road portion of the project. It is split into two separate bonds. That's why you have two separate resolution letters, well, letters of instruction in front of you. What we'd be looking for on both of these bonds is a resolution approving and authorizing execution of documents related to the road improvement project. These bonds are part of the approval that happened at the vote last March for $47 million. The bond for the road is $2,548,000, and I don't know what I do with my second sheet.
394.
Oh, yeah, there it is. $394,200. And in this packet, I've also included a schedule of debt repayment back.
So you need a motion to approve a resolution for general obligation tax increment financing bond of $2,548,000 for road improvement project known as 1B.
That's correct.
So moved.
Yep.
Get a second, Chris?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
And I want to give props to Mary Ellen because she was pretty new, and this was her first big task, and she did it with flying colors.
So then you need a resolution for, to be able to sign the general obligation tax increment financing bond for, otherwise known as 6B, the water system improvement, for a total of $394,200. I'm going to so move.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Can we also put this up online so people can see it? Okay?
Okay.
With Exhibit A if they want to get into, so it's there.
They should probably go into the TIF page anyway. Huh?
Yeah, that's what I mean, somewhere online. The next up is utility vehicle purchase for Green Mountain National Golf Course. This is something that I've got in front of me a Yamaha, and I've got a UMax, I think. Is that what it is, or are they both the same?
This is something that got kicked down the road a good bit because I asked, when Mark was still here, I asked for, our procurement policy requires 2 quotes, and it just took a little while for that communication to get to the golf course, so they got it. We've got 2 quotes, and so the board decides which one you want.
Okay, and this is in the golf course capital fund.
It is.
Funds, so every year the town votes on the budget for the golf course also, and in there is money put aside for such things as this, and there's enough money in there. So I've got one in front of me for a 60-month purchase at $826.25 per month, or a purchase of $51,200. And then I have another one in front of me for a purchase of $71,098.25. Am I reading that right?
That's correct.
And one is a John Deere, and one is a UMax from Yamaha. So we're talking $20,000 difference between the 2 bids, and the golf course is okay with either one of them?
They actually sent me the Yamaha first, so I figured they prefer it before I asked for a second bid.
Okay.
And also Steve Finneran said that Yamaha is used more for vehicles like this on golf courses.
Okay, so can I get a motion to allow the town manager to go through with the Yamaha bid?
How are we going to pay for this?
That's coming out of the capital golf
from the golf
How are
course.
we going to do it? Yeah, I agree, but.
Are we gonna do the lease, or are we gonna do the purchase?
Are we purchasing them, or are we doing?
Purchase.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll purchase outright, we're not going to finance it then?
I 99% sure purchase.
Yeah, and just to make correction here, it's a quantity of 5, and each one is $10,240 for a total of $51,000. It's not $51,000 per.
That's what I was going to ask you, what are they?
Yeah. It's a utility vehicle for the guys that are doing all the
We toured out there a year ago, a little over a year ago?
Yeah.
A little over a year ago, they have a couple of them dead, they had borrowed stuff, so they were on life support.
I have a question.
Sure.
Who's the local service dealer for Yamaha? Because John Deere, obviously, it's Rutland, and Yamaha is Central Vermont.
I know that Yamaha is Central Vermont Motorcycle, but
I'm just asking. So locally, let's say, Rutland.
I would probably, would guess that they would be dealing, whoever they deal with the golf carts at the same time period.
yeah.
Because that's who they get the pricing
And I
through.
don't think that is,
And they also get
Central
price-
Vermont.
It's not, they don't.
No.
It also, their stuff comes through a national program because of the size of,
I've run into that with Bobcat, so if you go for a bid with a Bobcat in the state of Vermont, it won't matter, they'll all give you the same bid, because
Yep.
they're all part of their own
Municipal
contract.
Right.
yep.
so,
It just can make a big difference. For example, a Mack dealer is located in Burlington, and Peterbilt is in Bethel. So obviously, the closest, the better. So I just don't know, that's why I was asking.
I know that when we rented the golf carts for the golfers to go out, which they ran the old ones for like 18 years, I believe, and we finally had to replace them. And we were making our last payment already this year, or was it last year?
Last year we did.
Last year, so that dealer that we got those cards from gave us a utility vehicle
right.
to get around.
Yep, that's right.
But since now we've decided to keep those cards longer than the 5 years, I mean, hell, we got 18 years out of the other ones, that we're keeping them longer.
They took back their card.
They took back their card that they gave us, but at the same time, those other 4 cards that they had there were now 23 years old. So there's enough money in there to pay the $51,200 for the total purchase. So, motion to approve.
Yep.
Town manager to go ahead with the golf course.
Yep.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We are now up to the proposed list of messages for the Route 4 electric sign. And that is not the sign out in front of the firehouse. The fire department is maintaining that one, correct?
Yeah, we're only talking about the one at the intersection.
Right. Okay.
Amy Laramie from the resort, Beth from the KPAA, Kelly, who's staff for the KPAA, and then a select board member, Jim Half, joined me with a meeting to go over a master list for the sign, because per the policy for this sign, if anything not town-related is posted on there, it has to be pre-approved by the select board. We thought this would be the best way to go about it.
And we also had, what's her name from the recreation department?
Oh, yeah, Emily was there.
Emily was there also, putting in, because she was there for the library and for recreation.
So they've added, I asked them to add everything they want by Monday, and it looks like they've added a few things here. So, and I'm colorblind, so I'm not going to be able to do well.
I could tell you in January is both red. Everything in February is green, okay?
Yeah.
And then March, the first 3 is red, and the rest is not one of those colors, it's in dark black, okay? But those are more resort things, so they should be green. Yeah, they kind of didn't follow the color code of the green after February.
I'd say there are town-related things missing from here because there's no debate over it.
We're not asking for, and the beauty of that sign down there right now that we're still sampling or testing on is that you can put 2 or 3 things. We really just told them that we wanted 1 thing, so whatever, from them for each.
But I'm telling you, Mona had a stack of checks on her table this high, and she thinks it's because we posted that message on the sign for people to come in and pay their taxes.
I would, I might think that beyond all of that, some things that might be a little more welcoming to the area, like Valentine's Day or St. Patrick's Day.
That's what the town could put up.
Okay. No, I know. I didn't see it on there. That's why I'm wondering.
But what is up there today?
Welcome to Killington and taxes are due.
Yeah, so I mean, that was just...
Yeah, Beth and I talked a little bit about Valentine's Day, but I thought, let's just get through the Monday meeting, and then... And then it's got to be clever, too,
Right.
So, be our Valentine, or be my Valentine.
I don't know. They run around town and they put Valentines all over people's windows and businesses.
Oh, yeah, you don't know about that secret Valentines or whatever.
Okay, so Jim and I mean, not just Jim and I, but Amy submitted this list to us kind of ranked. A lot of these, from like low priority to what she thought would be high priority. Anything that had fireworks was like high priority. We want people in town to know that they're happening for numerous reasons. So I guess I'll just scroll through here. Do you see anything that you think might be
Nothing's happened tonight.
too much?
What season?
What's the WWWMP mini shred madness?
They just put that on, and It's February 24th.
It is kind of cool to have some events down there in terms
Right.
of what's going on, and it just shows some activity, granted, it's going to be at the resort, it's not like,
So we also did talk about was, if there's something being held at one of the restaurants on the Killington Road, but it was like a big thing, like, and we were just like,
I don't think it belongs there.
And Amy was like, how do you really,
you can't, and it's like, you gotta, first of all, it's illegal,
Yeah.
okay, by the states, you're not allowed to advertise off of your own property.
Yeah.
But I just think that you'd end up, at some point, you're gonna have two on the same event, or you're gonna have two, and it's just not, it's not worth it.
But we also said with the resort, even like when they're having a wedding, the wedding's not going up, but the fireworks display is gonna go off, and the fire department chief gives the permit for that, and they will use this one here,
Notify.
just so people with dogs or vets or anyone, so it's these
Respectful.
respectful,
Yep.
that there's a firework permit out. It's not open to the public, the fireworks show, but, because I know a lot of people are always saying, I wish I would have known because my
Yeah.
dog or whatever.
Some dogs freak out, or
So-
and to your point.
Yeah,
people
but they're
as well.
gonna take care of that here,
Good,
so.
good.
Yeah, but Chris, you're saying you can't advertise for a resort, for a business, but the resort's a business, and you got all
The
those.
resort is, but none of us would be here if the resort
I
wasn't here.
understand, so
So,
I can't really follow what
I
you're
just, to me though, what I think that it does though, like, let's say the slash and burn, okay, event that happens here, it does bring people to the town, okay, and it is up there, and so the businesses in the area get something out of it, and ultimately, the town does receive 1% of revenue that comes from
Oh,
rooms and
I understand, it's just.
So it's
So what
like-
I read
But I
as the
think that-
zoning administrator, it says in the zoning that no one shall advertise another business that's not at their location. That's our zoning bylaw, but it doesn't say that the town sign, if you go back to Otto, that put it up, that sign first was for the chamber or whatever, and the sign was to advertise what they're doing here. And we kicked out quite a bit of little tiny things, these are more bigger events or whatever. So, the town is able to advertise for another business, but the town has decided in this meeting, Jan, that we're not gonna be doing stuff for the foundry, stuff for the ice cream
Nope.
place, stuff for,
Doesn't
the
belong there.
lookout, we're not gonna get into that,
Even if it's 100% for charity,
Yeah.
it still does not belong there. It's just,
So this is more of, it was, the reason why that sign was first put up was supposed to be for the chamber got all the permits for it, and it was to announce the stuff going on,
events.
Pico, Killington.
That the entire
events,
region will-
Not for other individual businesses.
Well, and it's like, just look at World Cup as an example. How
Yeah.
do you not take advantage of advertising that?
Right.
It's such a huge
But I think it
event.
also, I can see the library's, concert series being advertised on that.
Definitely.
And I think that's a benefit to the guests that
Right.
come into the area.
Right, and we've been doing most of these things
Yeah.
anyway, like the library concert stuff when it was put up by hand, and then once that Thursday was over, I think it's Thursday, then by Friday, the music festival, the Saturday afternoon was being put up there. A lot of them are like the summer camp, the town meeting day, I don't know, it's town meeting day, March 1st to 6th. We're not busy all those
6th.
days.
Yeah, and then,
Well, it says March 1 to 6.
It says 5th.
Well, that would be up there during that time period.
oh, that's the informational meeting
Oh, okay.
on the 5th, and then,
Votes on the 5th.
Yeah, the vote's on the,
I think
That's what it says on
I
the
think
book.
it's a good direction,
yeah, I do too.
and just probably update it every now and
Yeah.
then.
So, I'm gonna go, Jen, and you've already asked some questions. Andrew, you have any questions? Anybody online have any questions? Patrick, I can't see who's still here. Patrick, you have any questions if you're still? Hearing none. Jerry Russell, anyone?
Yes, you just have to be careful with that sign, because when you have 3 lines, you cannot read it when you're riding by. That happened about a week ago. I forget I don't know what the sign was because I couldn't read it, but,
We are actually committed to trying to do only one line. It's just tricky, because you don't want to break it down so it's so simple no one understands it. But
if they can't see it at all, it's no good either.
I agree with you.
And this goes back, Jerry, to like what we spoke about, I don't know, 6 or 7 weeks ago, that, this is a learning process, and this is why,
True.
and I think we've made some better changes already, and I think you agreed with it from the first time that you had seen it up that first 2 weeks.
I did agree with you, and you've done very well. I'm just saying, a week ago, there were 3 lines of something which I could not tell you what they were about. So, just, it's hard, but I know you're working on it. That's fine. That's great.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. So a motion to accept the list of messages for the Route 4 electronic sign?
Motion, so moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Managers report?
Sure, I'm going to pull up an electronic copy of it here quickly. Try not to be too exhaustive. There's a really good article in the Mountain Times on where we're at with the water project that came out Wednesday, so I encourage everybody to go online or go pick up the paper and check it out. So just quickly repeat, blasting and other constructions being performed from Shagback to East Mountain Road for water construction. I got to really experience what a blast felt like from like 500 feet away, and it's kind of like a big book getting dropped on the ground if you're in a room. So it was a really neat experience. Contract 4 and 1A, the second and final projects as part of Phase 1 include the road and water inside and around the ski village. We've received 90% plans for both of those, and they're under staff review. The town has submitted a second reimbursement for SRF for contract 3A for approximately $120,000. Mary Ellen's been very successful with submitting those and hadn't been getting any negative feedback from the state. The OTV form is still under review. We went down from almost 14 questions down to 3 questions. 2 of those we believe are really simple. They're just map changes that need to be made on our end, and Butch is on top of that. I followed up with him on Thursday, and he said he was speaking with our GIS firm to fix it. And then another one is a little bigger than that. We're working with VEPC, who has sought counsel on how to move forward, but Abbie, who worked with VEPC and is our new Director of Public Works, feels confident that they're going to be able to make the changes we need to make, and then fingers crossed we can get our OTV form approved.
Good.
The third well site was drilled. A 12-inch casing reached the target depth of 96 feet. This is all repeat, but yeah, we are working on permits for that, and then eventually what they'll do is they'll start pump down tests. I know that there's concern about people losing pressure, but part of this whole process is our engineer has to go out and actually do the in the field testing to make sure that that the water table doesn't decrease to the amount where people's wells are affected. We've already kind of gone through this. The approvals were made. We submitted a state bond bank application and received it. And working on our jurisdictional opinion through NRBC right now for contract 4. And the town hosted an informational meeting with property owners who will have the opportunity to connect along the scope of contract 4, which was a very productive meeting. New town hall, I'm expecting plans today or tomorrow. I'm meeting with structural engineers on site tomorrow or Wednesday so that they can look. Peter and I are meeting up there tomorrow, and we're going to have to cut holes in the wall so that structural engineers can come in and actually look to see what's there so that they can put their cost items together. And so I'm hoping, again, we're a little behind on this, but I'm hoping by the end of this week, early next week, we actually have bids out. And I have contacted the USPS so that they send their checks to the right person. And it's been kind of a difficult process. And they have no caller ID when they call, so it's weird.
We've done the we did the false alarm ordinance.
Oh, yeah, so there's,
working on
kind of
it.
a
We
neat
already
thing
told
here, VTEL, I warned the board a couple meetings ago that we were working with them to replace our existing phone service provider, and, come to find out, we're going to be saving a significant amount every month.
So
this new contract.
So, Andrew, this is not to knock you, it really isn't, but this VTEL and...
No, I've been hearing it for the last few years.
VTEL and the other one, we're the board, okay? And this is something that we actually could handle, and it took this long for what Chris and I and Steve have been saying, like, we just wanted what was what, like, get us the bid from VTEL and get us the bid from here. And Michael was able to do that in 2 months, and here we are.
Yeah, I remember,
So
we
some
talked for
things-
1 hour at one time, just talking about changing the lines,
Right,
and that
but we
was
were
like
over,
1 hour.
but we were paying over, and the board was on it, but, I get it, but we also, this is the board, and it took over a year, okay?
You're changing too.
We're going back to VTEL, which we had prior, because it's cheaper.
That's surprising.
And all the other contracts that, because they had signed into, okay, contracts, they're over. So we're able to go back to and save.
And it was a lot of work, because we have a lot of phone lines, and, so they got to do the audit, they got to make sure that they're getting everything in place. So anyway, I won't go on about how much hard work it was.
I was just saying, like, even things for, everyone thinks the board has this magic power, and we have to.
So our new plan, we're looking at $1,995 per month. Our old plan, we were paying $2,500, so.
Good.
Yeah. Cannabis bylaws, replacing East Mountain sign. I'm not sure if you guys saw, but LaFaso was fixing some of the crosswalk lights today. I know that's been brought up to me by multiple people. We're working on a new library grant because Jim and I spoke about this a little bit. There once was a plan for an addition or a patio or something on the back. So through this, that could be funded, and then we could also replace all the lights, because I don't think they have new parts or anything. Yeah.
That's the inside or whatever.
Yep.
Jerry be really happy about this, that we're moving forward with this grant process.
To take care of that.
Yeah, and that's actually it's a good transition into, so we don't have any more vacancies in town, which is very unique. We hired our assistant planner, he was in the budget, his name's Will Austin, he's a recent Castleton grad, and he seems motivated, intelligent, and he's going to take on some of the smaller grants that we have and train under Lisa. So he'll be doing library grant, he'll be doing municipal energy resilience planning grant, he'll be helping her with the RAISE grant. He's going to be taking minutes for the planning commission meeting. I mean, you name it, everything under the sun we got planned for him.
Lisa will be a really good person to train him.
And he
She's
started today.
He started today, yep.
He's going to learn a lot.
Yeah, he's in a good position, and I've been trying to preach that to him. So, and then we've begun drafting the 2024 RAISE grant in partnership with VHB, and that is to fund the rest of the road project from Lookout,
Anthony Way.
Anthony Way. Abbie is doing an incredible job with FEMA. I really can't speak towards how impressed I am with her coming on board and just going full throttle. So she has successfully submitted a project reimbursement for Rim Road, but this is how FEMA works. The state's decided that we get 100% of this stuff, which is great, but now they've got to go back and take that reimbursement request back and break it up into different sections, so it's always kind of another step. But she's being very, very patient and great. And then of course, I've been attending a lot of meetings outside. We went to the KMS gala, I guess you'd call it, or auction. We had an incredible time. And then we also had a legislative breakfast this morning with the treasurer of Vermont. Got some really good information, so.
He's a good guy.
He is, yeah. Remembered my name and where I lived.
Wow.
Yeah, which I was impressed by. Okay, so now that concludes my manager's report. Thank you.
Any other business?
Mr. Chair.
Other business?
No, we should, we'd be good to go into executive session for,
Well, then, no other business. Citizens input, we give a second chance, so anybody in the audience? Andrew, Jim, Jan?
I noticed East Mountain Road pavement didn't last in many spots. There were deep potholes, for example, in the front of the trail view.
Yeah.
I guess spring comes, we'll be addressing that, right?
Well, we said that we were gonna be lucky enough to get the base coat down, and we got, I actually drove the road, went to the manager. The manager then contacted Ricky and filled it in with coal patch, and it's supposed to get chewed back up this spring and then and then get the final coat on it. We were at one point where it was almost like we may not have gotten the base coat on. We really pushed hard.
got lucky.
To get in. You know, and you know, I'll save my spiel for whatever. It's not a place for somebody to come in and, including myself, to use this place as a place to run for office. So I'll just leave it at that. We'll go through the paper or
It's just,
whatever.
I'm friends with both Chris and Steve Wilk, and living in Vermont for 20 years. When I asked them, would you pave something, when would be the last time of the year when you'll do a job for yourself, if it was your own driveway? And the answer is like, I would never pave after October. And I know there are lots of taxpayers on that road, it had to be done. Same time, I think if I believe, because I'm working with people over the years, I trust if somebody is knowledgeable and the guy's in paving business, if he tells me he wouldn't pave November in life, under any circumstances, I would prefer to wait till spring and let people drive through the muddy road over the winter and then come and do it properly, you know, so.
Okay, so.
Because we see the potholes right now, we have to do it this way, but
We didn't pave the final pavement, and this is what I'm getting at, like.
The base coat is damaged in some spots.
Okay, so Andrew, like I said, we could have this debate on the 27th, okay? That's why I feel you're coming here. I'm not gonna get caught into it, but we were told to put the base coat down. We went to a local, Craig Mosier. We had him oversee the whole project, okay? We put it out for a bid. Those people that put it out for a bid said that they would put down the base coat, and we were hoping it would last. 98% of it lasts. There's 3 places that showed potholes. Our foreman and our town garage guys are on top of it. There are roads that have been in place for 5 years in Rutland that form potholes, okay? It would have been really bad for the truck drivers to keep East Mountain Road, our road crew, going if it was mud and everything else going up there. So the current board, with help of locals, did it. And we will be chewing up what base is there and grinding it in and then putting a final coat on top of it, and it will last. But we did what we had to do. So, that's it. I find it very hard to believe that Stephen Wilkes or whatever stops paving in October.
Yeah, but I said, would you do it at your own house? Because like I'm friends, he was like, I wouldn't, I would wait till May to do it in my place.
So we're on public TV, so anybody, Andrew's friend Stephen Wilk, if he tells you to pave in November, I mean, this is what I'm saying is kind of
Some
crazy.
people are pushing,
You shouldn't be saying stuff like that. The guy's in business.
Okay.
And maybe he wouldn't pave his because he's too busy finishing up other stuff.
There are certain things, for example, here, how crazy it is to break the ground for the new firehouse in October. And then a couple weeks later, snow comes, and we act like run like chickens without hats, because, oh my God, we have to protect our concrete footings, because they have to cure for 30 days. And then the contractor brings the heating mats. We pay extra money, and if I remember correctly, you approved, it was extra $60,000 just to cover the blankets and keep the foundation so that it can cure properly. So if you break the ground in May, like I do this for a living, you pour concrete in May, you don't have the $60,000 expense. But because somebody here was trying to rush it, and, oh, let's get it done as quick as possible, it cost us taxpayers extra money. So like, it's another referral to paving job with the potholes right now, and then same thing what happened in this.
So Andrew, you aren't on the board, okay? I was not on the board during the vote of the firehouse, but you can pick it on me, is what I'm saying. Go ahead, pick it on me, I'm sitting here. I was not on the board when the vote went through. The taxpayers put it in. COVID happened to hit at that time, and you're talking about $60,000, okay? So if we would have held off, COVID came in and inflation came in 5 months later, Chris, and that $60,000 may have been $300,000 if we didn't get it going. So this board trusts certain things that happen in town hall, and those questions were being asked during that time. But I get it, you're running for select board, and you're gonna come in
And I'm just bringing
for the
those
next 3
mistakes that
weeks.
happen, of
You're
course.
gonna come in.
I'm surfacing the mistakes, and I'm just saying that I've seen those mistakes, and they cost us
You're
money.
saying things are mistakes, okay? But you have to prove that it was a mistake, okay? Just don't come in and say it, because we all know that from when COVID hit to a year later, okay, costs went up a lot higher. And let's take a look at the K1 Lodge and see, they waited to the next spring, and then they couldn't get somebody to do something, and then that building cost 60% higher.
Same as State of Vermont and Mendon building cost 12 million, you know, so it's, we all seen that.
Right, but so you're gonna save 60 grand, but then you're not taking into account.
Oh, there
But
are
I'm
many
not
other
gonna
things I
get
didn't bring up to the subject yet, but it's okay.
So you keep coming to these
There's
board
nothing we
meetings.
can do about it. This is done
Now,
before. We were sitting on the board.
But we weren't
If there was a builder on the board, somebody knowledgeable, they would say, listen, I highly recommend not to break the ground in October because it's gonna snow a month from now. And obviously, town manager at that point should have said, you know, guys, that's a good point, we should wait till spring to break the ground. But, you know, everybody thinks they know it all.
Okay, so is that it for today? Are you gonna
Yes.
bring up other
No, that's
things?
good.
Well, let's wait for the next meeting, and you can come in here and use this as your platform. I won't do it. Thank you. So, executive session, Chris, you want
Yeah, contracts, yeah.
for contracts? Make a motion to go into executive session at 8:41 for contracts. So, thanks a lot, folks.